I start walking across the border, the rim across the back. So I'm start walking across that, and I'm balancing. I thought I was Superman at the time. So I'm walking. And the inevitable happened. I turned wrong and I missed a step. Now, if you're about this tall and you're falling from this high to that ground, it's a distance. And I hit my head. If you look at the side of my face, this side is a little bit swollen than this side. It's always been like that. I believe something happened. I cracked something, and I didn't say anything because I knew if I say to him, I've fallen, he will beat me up. So I got myself up real quick. But as I got up, I could hear, wee. First thing that struck my mind is, I'm deaf. Because I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear anyone. Cars were driving past. And the funny thing is, when you fall, it happens so quick. You get up, and you don't want anyone to notice what just happened. So no one really came to say, are you okay? So I tried to get myself back up on the car, and my feet are not working the way they're supposed to. There's no coordination. I'm missing the rail, and I'm like, I have to get back on this car before this man gets here. At least my brain was still working. I'm like, I have to get myself back on this car before this man gets here. And then my hearing started to come back. I was so happy. Because in my mind, I was like, how am I going to act normal when this man gets here, when I know I cannot hear him when he's talking to me? I'm gonna get a beating, and I'm still disoriented. So my hearing starts coming back. And at that time, I was praying. I was like, God, please bring back my hearing. And then when my hearing came back, I said to myself, honestly, I woke up this morning, I could hear. And I didn't think at that point I had to thank God for anything, because I was fine. Suddenly, I lost my hearing for a second. And at that point, the only thing that I wanted to do was to hear again. So my encouragement to you today is that sacrifice is something which is so dear to each and every single one of us. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you have a testimony to give. Now, the other thing that validates a sacrifice. So I said acknowledgement. A satisfactory or a pleasing end result. When parents see their kids graduate from college, for them they're like, whew, all those hours they paid off. When your boss comes up to you and says, there's a post that's come up, and I think you qualify for it. Suddenly you feel like all those hours that I woke up early, stayed longer, they're being acknowledged there. There's a sense of accomplishment within you. The other thing was reciprocation, which is a fault at the same time. Because sometimes before we sacrifice, we look at, what am I going to get back? And I feel like sometimes we do that as the children of God, as Christians, as whichever denomination you're in. That before you give, you say, so God, you say if I give 10%, I'll never get hungry. So my account better not finish, ever. I've said that to myself, said back there. Before I give, I'm like, God, I don't get paid like that. But if I give this here, you better make sure that my car has gas. That these people will not see me standing here in a suit and I'm out there and my car is on empty. Now that alone, it invalidates my sacrifice because it's conditional. I'm basically saying to God, you better. It takes away from the sacrifice. A sacrifice is when you do it regardless of what's going to come, regardless of what you're going to lack, and just have faith that you're not going to regret anything. You're not going to be embarrassed. You're not going to think, what was going through my mind? What was I even thinking? So if there's anything which you're going to take away from what I've said today, is to simply acknowledge that sacrifice that God made for you. Before you acknowledge anything else, you're here right now. You're alive. You can hear me speak. You can see me talk. The least you can be is thankful and understand that this calling is upon all of us. And in closing, in conclusion, I have a quick sentence to share. It says, in your life, when you walk out of here, think about who you belong to and what you signed up for, and let that be a new way of life. So this week for me, I learned so much, because when you ask God to lead you in something, you get to actually enjoy the relationship with God. The way you think is a little bit different. You know, my focus, I was sharp. I said, if I had the same focus on all the other things that I did, I would be a successful man. Because, you know, the music I listened to was kind of in line with the sermon. You know, the things I was watching online were in line with the sermon. And because of that focus, I found that I was actually lining up with this sermon, and I felt like, yeah, I'm vibing, and this is going very well. So let this not just be a momentary thing. What I've just said to you right now, let it not come in through one side and go out the other side. Try, I dare you, try to let this be a new way of life and see how good God is. He will not let you down. And that's the end of my sermon. I would like to close with a word of prayer.